is derived from the word charazo, which means a notch, indentation, a sharpening, scratching, or writing on stone, wood, or metal. This word came to mean an embosser and a stamp for making coins. From these, it came to mean the embossed stamp on the coin or character styled in Greek. This Greek word appears in the New Testament in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 3, when Jesus was being described as the image of God. He carries the exact character of God. That's what, is being said there. According to Miles Monroe, he says, character is defined by 4 principles: fixed, predictable, image, and statute. Fixed, I'm quoting him, means character is stable and set. Predictable means character can be trusted and sustain expectations. Means character's nature is inherent and reflects its essence. The last one, statute, according to him, he finds in graphic. And let me just quickly explain what he said. He said, so is the from his country, that there is a statue of Queen Victoria that has been standing there for years, right in the center of the town. And he says that what he has noticed about that statue is how character should be, always constant. That the pigeons come on it, they poo on it, it does not change, it does not blink. Rain will fall, different weather will blow it, nothing changes. And that is what is expected of us. And that's the graphic way of explaining what character is. And he goes on to say that character is the inherent predictable nature and moral fiber of a person. You could also say it is like integrity. And he goes on to explain the meaning of integrity, that integrity is from the root meaning of integrity, according to him, of course, which I agree with, is integrated or to be one. In other words, who you are, what you say, what you do, and how you appear should all be one. There is no dichotomy or division in your person. You are not one thing in public and another thing in private. Now, the challenge of character today. Character is present when what you say is what you do. Character, of course, does not develop in vacuum. It comes through tests, pressure, and challenges. You cannot tell whether you will cheat until you have the opportunity to cheat when you don't have the money in your pocket and your landlord says you have to pack and go. So character would come through challenges, tests, and pressure. A man or woman of character will face temptations and challenges like a statue and will respond only to the sculpture. Which means a man of God will face challenges, but the only person we are to respond to is the person who created us in the beginning, who is our sculptor, and that's God. If we are truly men and women of character leading the church of God. The challenge before the church today, according to Miles Monroe, who says, among the most visible church leaders today, there seems to be plenty of characters, but few people of character. He reasons that while we trust leaders to be examples and to help us navigate the uncertain waters of life, we often discover to our chagrin that many of these leaders cannot navigate these waters themselves. And the defects in church leadership today seem to be recurring too often. Miles Monroe further argued that while reiterating the significance of character in Christian leadership, he further argues, as he was in that paper reiterating the significance of character in church leadership today, he says, and I'm quoting him, throughout the pages of recorded history and the Bible has scattered the sad stories of great men and women who rose to impressive positions of leadership and influence. I'm still quoting him. They exercised skill, courage, passion, faith, and other qualities we admire as leaders. Yet, many of them failed in the area of character. Abraham succumbed to the compromise of his wife. David surrendered to his lust. Solomon used his influence to indulge his passions. And then he says this finally, I am convinced that the future of leadership will be determined by whether a return to character becomes the priority. Recently, much of the focus of leadership has been on position, power, and charisma, unquote. Most of our leaders today seem to be characters, truly, but not people of character. Character is who you are when no one is watching. And this reflects the very essence of God himself. Because God says that he changeth not. He remains the same always. That is why we are able to trust him, because he is predictable. He's always there. And I believe that the relaxation of the criteria of leadership in the church today has resulted in a diminished quality of leaders and an increase in cases of leadership scandals. Today, many leaders are blinded by pride, which is what happens to a novice. Because the Bible tells us, Paul says in that 1 Timothy chapter 3 that a novice has no business being in the position of leadership. He says so that they do not fall into the condemnation of Satan. So that they don't be overcome by pride and fall into the condemnation of Satan. That's what he says. But today we find that people who are already in position of leadership, they show so much pride that we can classify them as novices who have already fallen to the condemnation of Satan, of the devil. Of course, the desire of the devil is to cause leaders to fail. Many Christian leaders today are building huge ministries, and they very soon become full of themselves. We do not only have to address what leadership should be in the church, but it's equally important for us to address what leaders should do. You see, rather than being preoccupied with building their own empire or kingdom, which is what many of the leaders today are doing, a great leader must take time to produce other leaders. And I believe the challenge and the crisis in leadership today is as a result of the great leaders not producing other leaders through mentoring. Today, part of the crisis of church leadership is because many leaders focus on becoming successful and building their own brand more than leaving a legacy for Christ. Instead of leaders developing people to become leaders for Christ's kingdom, they are merely using them for the development of their own kingdom. What's the way forward? My suggestion is that the way out is to strictly apply the qualifications set out in 1 Timothy chapter 3. A leader should not live two lives. What people see outside must reflect the integrity and character on the inside. We all know that to apply for a job, there is a list of qualifications that you must meet in order for you to be considered. And I believe that 1 Timothy chapter 3 starts with I believe that 1 Timothy chapter 3 has already made that very clear, because it starts with the words, if a person desires. However, in order to be considered, it now tells us the qualifications that must be met. If these qualifications are well enforced, I believe that they should narrow the list of potential candidates. Unfortunately, what we have today is not a short list, but a rather long list, always, of potential candidates. And we know that in many churches, the issue of ordination is always a very contentious issue. And a lot of things happen. Another way, so the first suggestion is that there must be a strict application of the rules, the qualifications. You see, what I'm saying, if I can just take a minute or two, I'm mindful of time, is rather than assume that this brother, this sister we see in the church is so great, do we take time to call in the children or the wife or those close to him and say, let's have a little meeting in confidence. What can you say about your husband? I sincerely believe that a good number of times people will tell you, if you are sure you are talking to me in confidence, I'll tell you who this person really is. Many people are angels in the church, but the truth about it is that they are not exactly so. I've had occasions, this is talking about my little time in ministry, whereby, because in those days, for you to be ordained in the church that I belong to, you will announce, it's not strictly followed anymore. You will announce the names and you tell people, if you have anything, please let me know. And I can assure you, I've had occasion. There was a man that we recommended, and a sister came in and said, sir, I don't think that man should go for ordination. And I said, why? He said, I'm ready to confront him. When I came to this church newly, he was the youth pastor. He was in charge of the youth. And he came to visit me. And he came alone. And, I didn't know my left from the right. He started dating me. But when I became properly born again, I cut away. And I believe he still does it. So, which is, if that announcement had not been made, one would not have known. Which informs why I am making another suggestion, and that is that when we have potential candidates for leadership position, that their names should be published within the church, and we should ask for feedbacks. And sometimes you may find out that even their family members may write anonymously or may write confidentially, but it will eliminate some of the problems that we are facing today. Another suggestion is that there must be proper training and spiritual discipline, especially the renewal of mind of the people. I believe that we should make resources available to leaders so that they can properly disciple other leaders. And I am suggesting that a person to be appointed to a leadership position should take recommendations from at least 3 people who have been in ministry for at least 15 years with unblemished record. Why? If I'm applying even for a cleaner's job, they ask for recommendation. So why should we have less standard in the church? In conclusion, the lack of confidence in church leadership today, arising majorly out of character flaws of many present leaders, is adversely affecting church growth. And unless the situation is arrested, there will be further massive decline in church membership. Thank you for your time.